Hello and welcome back to Holt Hanley Weather. I've got an exciting forecast for you today. Honestly, one of the most exciting forecasts I have seen in over a month. There's over 6 feet of snow expected for the Sierra Nevadas. 6 feet of snow by this time next week, and it's really all associated with just one storm system that's going to be hanging out over California, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado for a number of days. Before I get started on that, I will say that I make these forecast videos every single morning. So if you enjoy following the weather or you end up enjoying this video, you can subscribe to my channel. It is especially going to be interesting to see what happens with this storm because as you can see, this is showing the total accumulated snowfall for the Sierra Nevadas by this time next week. The real bulk of this storm is going to be moving in about Sunday, Monday, where in a 24-hour period, almost 4 feet of snow is going to accumulate. And you can see 77 inches. I honestly am thinking this could be a glitch in the models. This is such an incredible snowstorm, but when I show you the science behind the storm, it's going to make a little more sense why this thing is expected to be so darn big. First thing I like to do is just take a look at the precip type and rate map for the entire country just to get a good idea of what's going on across the country. You've probably heard of some severe thunderstorms in the south and southeast with some pretty bad tornado activity. I'm going to have to check the news of what's been going on with that. I haven't had time today. I've been doing my numerical weather predictions studying for my midterm coming up. For those of you who don't know, I'm getting my master's in meteorology right now, so I haven't been able to actually follow the news on the tornadoes in the southeast today, but it's something to look out for, and I think that severe weather is going to continue throughout basically this entire week. As you can see, there's this low sitting off Southern California, and that's actually bringing some severe rain to Southern California and Arizona, 3 to 4 inches of rain in an area that typically does not get rain at all. So there is a flash flood warning in effect for Southern California and Arizona. Those climates, regions, and soils just just aren't built for that kind of rainfall. So when they get more than 3 inches, that's most likely going to lead to some flooding. We also got some action in the Midwest. This low up here is actually going to move into the Northeast, and it's interesting to see what happens in the northern tip of Maine. Don't want to give any spoilers, but there's some snow in the forecast. So let's move through. This is showing about right now. It's about 7 p.m. on Thursday night when I'm recording this, and you can see that low actually starts to intensify as it moves through the Midwest. Some heavy snow accumulations just north of Michigan. If this thing could just move a little bit farther south, then we could actually have some weather on our hands. And heavy rainfall rates in Southern California and Arizona as severe weather is about to move into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. It's interesting to see this low drop down to 989 millibars, while another low is sitting over Utah and Colorado, bringing some heavy snow, about 5 to 8 inches, to Utah and Colorado over the next day or two. This low, man, if this thing was just a little bit farther south, we could have a major snowstorm for the Northeast. But as it turns out, it's just way too far north. The entire Northeast is way too warm, and there's just rain in the forecast for most of the Northeast. You can see some snow is working its way into Maine, and we're going to take a look at those accumulations throughout this video. Again, that low really intensified over Utah and Colorado. That's going to bring some pretty good snow accumulations, but the real action, the thing that we're going to be talking about the most in this video, where the forecast gets crazy, is when this low builds into California. And you're going to see it shows up on Saturday at about 1 p.m. It's associated with this big low here that is moving in to the Pacific Northwest on Saturday at 1 p.m. And what this low is going to do is it's going to be bringing in just a ton of moisture from all that moist air that you see in the tropical, no, not the tropical Pacific, the Northwest Pacific. And all that moisture is just going to get dumped on the Sierra Nevadas throughout Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Sierra Nevadas are going to be accumulating snowfall for almost 4 to 5 straight days. And it's not just light accumulations here and there. It is heavy snowfall rates for days and days at a time. You can see the rest of the country gets pretty quiet throughout this period, but it's pretty much because this low, which typically moves off and sometimes can move into the Midwest, eventually in the Northeast, get some snowstorms up there, or maybe it moves south and brings a bunch of severe weather to the Southeast. Well, that's not the case with this low. It is really just hanging out over California from basically Saturday to Thursday. That's why this storm is so amazing, and it's going to be interesting to see if the forecast models keep this storm the way it is, because as of right now, it's sitting over this area for about 5 days. So I'm going to be following this every single morning. If you enjoy following the weather, you can subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be following this one because this is one of the craziest storms I have seen in a long time. It finally moves, but it doesn't even move off on Wednesday. It's still hanging out in Idaho, bringing more snow to Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming. There's actually going to be some pretty good snow in Wyoming and Montana that has a winter weather advisory. It's so funny because just a few days ago, I did a video on is winter over? Because there was nothing in the forecast. It looked like the Northeast was going to get some rain, and that was about it. And as it turns out, the biggest snowstorm of the entire year comes in. And it'll be interesting to see if it actually does. Well, let's take a look at this thing. This is showing not this Friday, but next Friday. And that's that low that finally moved off of California. And that could bring some really heavy snowfall rates. Let's see if it goes into the Midwest. Yeah, it could be moving into North, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin. This could be something to look out for next Friday as that low moves off from California. So enough of that map. Let's dive into California. What is creating this snowstorm that could drop 6 feet of snow in the next week? Well, you'd maybe think that it's this giant cutoff low that's sitting over it right now, but that is actually going to combine with the jet stream and move off. As I click through here, you're going to see what this is doing right now that's pretty interesting is it's bringing in a ton of warm, moist air from the tropical Pacific. And what that's doing, when you bring in warm air, it rises up because it's less dense. And then when it rises up, it creates a bunch of clouds. And there's a ton of moisture because that's some warm, moist water right there. And then all that warm air, which creates clouds, filled with a lot of cloud droplets, lots of moisture, drops on Southern California and Arizona. We're getting flooding there all tomorrow. There's going to be some severe weather. And then watch what happens to this cutoff low as we click through here. It combines with the jet stream. And this isn't showing the jet stream right here. I'll show that in a minute. But it combines with that system and really delivers a ton of energy to the Midwest and Northeast on Friday and Saturday. Not going to be a massive snowstorm. I hate to break it to anybody who's watching who lives in the Midwest or the Northeast. But what this is going to do is bring in that big storm you saw moving in up to the north of the Midwest. And on the bottom southeast edge of it, the Northeast is going to be getting some crazy winds associated with that one. So if you're going to a St. Patrick's Day parade on Saturday, well, first off, I probably wouldn't because of the coronavirus. But if you're brave enough to go to a parade on Saturday, you're also going to have to watch out for the wind. It's going to be about 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts at some times. The big one we're looking out for, though, and keep an eye on this blue line right here. That indicates the freezing line, where above this blue line is colder than 32 degrees. That's something you always want to look at on this map because it indicates where it's cold enough to get a bunch of snow. The big thing we're looking at, though, is this giant giant trough that is about to move into California. And you can see it really moves in on Saturday at about 1 p.m. And then watch how long it hangs out. It just turns and turns and turns. And what this is doing, look at these wind barbs right here. These wind barbs are going to be bringing in moisture from the Pacific Ocean, fueling it right into the system and dropping it right on the Sierra Nevadas. And if you don't know this about troughs, when there's a trough, typically, we'll look at this trough right here. Typically, on the left side of a trough is where you don't get any severe weather. You're not going to have that much exciting things going on. That's why the Northeast has going on at this point is a little bit of rain. A little bit of rain, a little bit of wind. When you're on the east side of a trough, that's when you get a ton of vertical motion, which again leads to clouds. They got all this moisture to work with, and it's also in the freezing zone. That's the important part here. It's in the freezing zone. So all that uplift is going to create a ton of storms from Saturday basically to Thursday. And then it's going to have the moisture and the cold air to drop it as snow. And look, it just hangs out, hangs out, hangs out. This is now moving into Wednesday, and it is still hanging out over California. And you can see the cold air has really moved down at this point. Almost Arctic air into California. I'm going to have to dress warm next week. It's going to be a cold one. But especially in the Sierras, where 6 feet of snow could be accumulating by next Thursday. Look at that. It's moving into Friday, and that low is finally moving off. That's where, wow, that's actually a pretty cool map right there. That's where we started to see those really heavy snowfall rates building into North, South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin. As that combines with the jet stream that's going to be above at this point. But look at that. Northeast, way too warm. Way too warm right there. You guys are going to be missing out on the snow. All of it got dumped on California. Sorry to break the news. But, I mean, Midwest could be getting some serious snow with this one, too. So that's what we're going to look at as well. First thing I'll do is look at California here. We got some severe thunderstorms right now. This is leading to flooding in Southern California and Arizona. These regions aren't accustomed to getting rain. So when there's a low that is just fueling in that warm tropical Pacific moisture, well, that's most likely going to lead to some flooding. And you'll see as I show the accumulations in a minute, they're getting about 3 to 4 inches of rain associated with that low. That's going to be moving into Utah by Friday at about 7 a.m. That one continues to build snow into Utah. Actually some pretty good snowfall rates right there. And then that finally moves off. This is now looking, let's go to Saturday at 1 in the morning. This is when all the action starts happening. You can see that first little dash of snow has already started to build into the Sierra Nevadas. Sierra Nevadas, for those of you who don't know, it's basically this entire eastern border of California. And you got Tahoe right here, Mammoth down here. Some pretty good skiing and snowboarding. And man, my buddies have been bummed this entire winter season because there's been no snow. There's been, I think, maybe 5 days my one buddy's been able to go up there to go snowboarding. Well, you can guarantee he's going to be ditching school next week. 6 feet. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it. It's unbelievable. So that moved in Saturday at 1 in the morning, and you'll see the snow continues for California throughout Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you can see the really heavy rates start building in Saturday at about 1 p.m., and then the rates just get heavier and heavier and heavier as the low intensifies and just continues to bring more and more moisture from the Pacific, and that cold air is able to fill in further south. So look at that. That is about as high of snowfall rates as you're ever going to see. That's greater than 0.2 inches per hour. So think about that. You are probably tempted to say, Holt, no way California's getting 6 feet of snow in the next week. There's no way, especially not with one system. There's no way one snowstorm is going to drop 6 feet of snow. But it starts to make sense when you look at the accumulations here. If you're getting 0.2 to 0.4 to maybe half an inch of snow per hour, you can imagine what you accumulate when you get that 24 hours on Saturday, 24 hours on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That is a lot of time to be accumulating half an inch of snowfall per hour. It makes sense why the accumulation map is about to show you over 70 inches of snow accumulated for California. So look at this. This is moving into Monday. Those heavy rates are still hanging out. Ooh, it's going to be raining all next week where I'm living. I'm right about here, just south of San Francisco. But man, I might have to do a little trip up to Tahoe and do some snowboarding myself. Man, all I know is anybody watching this who lives in the Midwest or Northeast probably just hates me right now, because it's not too often that California gets exciting weather, and turns out we are getting some really exciting weather associated with this one. 6 feet of snow. That is, I would be interested to see what the accumulations for this entire season have been. I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to double our accumulations with just one storm. So moving through, still working. There's that low. It's been hanging out since Saturday. Moving into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday it kind of moves off. And then we still get a little dash of snow where there's some leftover precip and cold air. But really the bulk of that's hidden Sunday, Monday. That's when this thing's going to get crazy. So let's look at first just the precip that's moving into SoCal and Arizona right now and throughout tomorrow. That is a big story too, because this is going to lead to some flooding. And you can see there's already been an inch accumulated in Arizona, and that's just going to continue. It's going to move up to 2 inches, 3 inches, maybe even 4 inches in some places. And again, I keep saying it, but Southern California almost never gets rain. Arizona almost never gets rain. So when they get 3 inches like this, that's going to guaranteed lead to some flooding. So before I show you the accumulations, the moment you've all been waiting for, I want to first show you how that cold air is filling in and just hanging out throughout the entire time the storm system is present. So moving back here, if this trough were to move through on Friday, you can see it's warm. Up in Reno, it's about 56 degrees. The entire Central Valley is in the low to mid 70s. California is warm on Friday, but that quickly changes as this low. You got to think about circulation around a low. On the right side, you bring warm air up because it's moving counterclockwise. On the left side of a low, you're bringing cold air down. And you start to see that fill in throughout Saturday associated with that counterclockwise motion around a low. And keep your eye on the Sierra Nevadas right here. The reason it's so much colder is because it's such higher elevation. And you can see, just in the period of a day, Reno dropped 20 degrees right there, associated with that cold air being pulled down by the low. Down here in the Central Valley, pretty low elevation, so maybe in the low to mid 50s, whereas in these higher elevations, you're below freezing for basically a week. Starting Saturday, moving into Thursday, you're not going to see this get above freezing. And that's why as the moisture moves in, the moisture's got to fall. And when it's this cold, it's going to fall snow. It's just basic physics right there. And you can really see that wind streaming in here on Saturday. This is when the storm is really intensifying. And part of this too is that this warm air collects a bunch of warm air over the Central Valley. That is actually going to rise up and lead to some more storm development. And the moisture is there, the cold air, you can see it's still there, hanging out. Oh man, I cannot wait to follow this storm throughout the week. I have a feeling this one is going to pan out. All the right boxes are getting checked for this to actually end up being a massive snowstorm possibly 6 feet of snow accumulated in the next week. So I'm going to be staying updated on this. I'm going to be posting forecast videos every single morning. If you want to stay updated as well, figure out if this storm actually happens, then you could subscribe to Holt Hanley Weather. It will be interesting to see if it happens because it's been kind of the trend this entire winter, whether you're talking about California or the Midwest or the Northeast. It's been the trend that they have these huge forecasts, 2 feet of snow, 3 feet of snow, in this case 6 feet of snow. And then what happens? The whole forecast busts and you maybe get 4 inches. So it'll be interesting to see if this one actually pans out. But considering it's almost Friday right now, and this storm moves in and really starts happening on Saturday, one day out, our forecast models are pretty darn good. So I'm tempted to trust this thing. The one thing that I could see maybe changing is if it doesn't hang out for as long. You can see if we go back from basically this time on Thursday. No, I went way too far. Hang with me for a sec here. Okay, this little cutoff low moves off into the Midwest, and then the trough starts to build in on Saturday. The one thing that could change and bust this forecast is if this low ends up moving farther south than they're predicting it will. So you look, moves in Saturday, stays Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then finally moves off on Friday. The only thing I could really think of that could ruin this forecast is if that low ends up moving off faster. Probably still get some great snow accumulations, but you're not going to be getting those half an inch per hour accumulations for 5 days. In that case, it would maybe be for 2 days, where you could still maybe get 2 to 3 feet of snow. Something to look out for. If you want to stay updated, you could subscribe to my channel. So, we already looked at that guy. Let's move into here. We looked at that. Surface winds. Now, 24-hour accumulated snowfall. This is where it gets interesting. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Getting to see that snowfall accumulate, and you could see that cutoff low that was bringing the flooding to Southern California and New Mexico. That moves off and actually brings 5 to 8 inches of snow to Utah and Colorado, possibly even a foot in some places. But the real action starts showing up in the Sierra Nevadas on Saturday. You can see this is just the start of the storm. Saturday at 1 in the morning, half an inch already accumulated. I'm just going to click through this fast so you can just be amazed. Up to 1.5 inches by Sunday. Wow. You know what? No, I have to go slower. It builds in so fast. You can't click too quick. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So by Saturday at 1 p.m., Sierra Nevadas have picked up about, 3 to 4 inches. By Sunday at 1 p.m., it's at 37 inches. That is unbelievable. That's basically picking up 3 feet of snow in about a day. And it doesn't stop there. So that's Sunday. Sunday is the bulk of this thing coming through. And then Monday, it's actually going to intensify. No, it's not going to intensify, but it will continue. You see, still getting those huge rates. 20 inches building in throughout Monday. So Monday, you're still getting almost 2 feet of snow. And the really, really cool map to look at is this total accumulated snowfall. As you see it build in, got nothing on Saturday, and then it moves in by Sunday. You're up to basically 4 feet of snow by Monday morning. Not going to stop there. As I said, you're going to get another 2 feet of snow on Monday, and then light accumulations throughout Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we saw a little dash on Friday. So really the bulk of this is hitting Sunday. And that's encouraging to see because that's not that far out. 2, 3 days out, forecast models are typically pretty good. And that Sunday prediction is about 4 feet of snow. So there's a pretty good chance this thing is actually going to pan out. All right. now that I've just gotten completely stoked on California's weather, I'll move it off to the rest of the country, and then I'll come back to California at the very end, giving a quick summary. So here is what's going to be bringing the exciting weather to the Midwest and the Northeast over tomorrow and Saturday. See this cutoff low that was bringing flooding to Southern California and Arizona? Well, that cutoff low is going to combine with this kind of just jet stream. You can't really see it in this map, but there's a jet stream right here. It's going to combine by about Saturday at 1 p.m. And what that's going to do is all this energy it was picking up right here, it's going to bring that energy to the Midwest and then the Northeast. So let's take a look at what that does. Right about now and earlier today, the Midwest was getting some rain. About 1 p.m., there was actually some pretty heavy rainfall rates building into Illinois and Wisconsin. Those moved through really heavy rates, building in actually right now for Illinois and Indiana and Ohio. That's about that's about 0.5 inches per hour of rain. That's some pretty serious accumulations right there. So if you're in Illinois, Indiana, or Ohio, it's probably coming down right about now. And then that moves off. That's not really the one we're that interested in now. The real interesting one is as kind of a piece of that low that is in California, a little piece of that's going to break off, and come Saturday, there's there's some pretty good snow accumulations for basically central Illinois and Indiana upwards into Wisconsin. There's some pretty good snow accumulations there. And then the cold air kind of dissipates, so then you end up getting more rain, especially in the southern locations of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Some heavier accumulations farther south. So that's interesting to look at. Let's just take a look at the quick snow forecast. You know, very northern Michigan could be getting maybe 2 to 3 inches of snow by 1 o'clock tomorrow. Man, it's almost sad looking at these kind of snow accumulations now after looking at 77 inches of snow in California. Get excited about 2 to 3 inches after that is, well, it's a little difficult. So let's look. When does this start building in? It starts building in about Saturday at 7 a.m. You're going to see it moving to central Illinois by about Saturday at 1 p.m. Maybe getting 3 to 5 inches in some places. Again, we're really interested in this strip right here where you see majority of it is going to be in that 1 to 2 inch range. And then there's this nice swath where you could be getting 3 to 5 inches, especially in Illinois. And, Indiana's going to get some good stuff too with this. Maybe 2 to 3 inches. So let's move. Oh, here's the jet stream map. This is what I wanted to see because this is what explains that energy that moves into the Midwest to bring that snowstorm in, and then the extreme wind event that we're going to be seeing for the Northeast on Friday and Saturday. Like I said, if you're going to a St. Patrick's Day parade, well, first off, you probably don't want to go to the St. Patrick's Day parade because of the whole coronavirus. But if you are brave enough, or I could say dumb enough to go to a parade, it's also going to be extremely windy. And it's all associated with this cutoff low that, again, brought flooding to Southern California and Arizona. Watch what happens with the jet stream here. This is a really cool map and perfectly illustrates how the jet stream really is the flow of energy in the atmosphere. Right here you see it's all reds. That indicates maybe 100 knot winds, which sounds intense, but it's way, way up there. So what this really indicates is when there's a really strong jet stream aloft, then you're going to have a lot of energy, and that's going to bring some exciting weather and winds to the surface as well. So that's about 100 knots. Watch what happens as this energy associated with this cutoff low combines with the jet stream. It gets sucked up in there, and then boom, that 100 knots turns into 150 knots, which is why that low that's going to be moving through right here is associated with such strong winds. Like I said, 50 to 60 miles per hour in the Northeast on Friday and Saturday. and it's all associated with this energy that originated in Southern California. It's honestly one of my favorite things about weather, how it's so interconnected. Literally, I know East Coast people probably didn't like the beginning of this video because it was talking about the West the entire time, but really what happens in the West ends up affecting the East. So I always, if I'm trying to forecast thunderstorms for the Southeast, the first place I look is the Pacific Northwest, because that's typically where the big trough is going to be moving in originally, picking up a bunch of energy and moisture from the tropical Pacific when it moves down here, and then it typically will move into the Southeast about 2 to 3 days later. It's what I love about weather. It's so interconnected, and it's why it's fun to follow every single day because it's always changing and it's always flowing. And man, if you can't tell, I just love weather. If you love weather too, you can subscribe to my channel. I do these forecast videos every single day. So if you love weather as much as I do, then also shoot me some comments. I'd love to know what questions you have. If you think that California is going to be getting 6 feet of snow, I'm sure some people will want to call me out that that forecast is just completely false. But as of right now, forecast models are looking pretty good. That low is going to be hanging out for a long time. So, just going to show that one more time, just because I love that map so much. Cutoff low down here, getting a bunch of warm tropical Pacific moisture and energy, combines with the jet stream, just intensifies the jet stream over the Midwest, and then that low that's going to be moving just north of the Northeast, that's going to have some really heavy winds building in 50 to 60 miles per hour for the Northeast throughout Friday and Saturday. And it's all associated with this jet stream right here. All right, I'm going to get a little sciencey for the next minute, so bear with me. When you have a jet stream like this, right here is what you call the upper exit region. And just an interesting little dynamics lesson, the upper exit region is associated with cyclonic motion. It's the same kind of turning that you'd see in a cyclone. And what that does is leads to upward vertical motion, which leads to storm development, storms, and eventually precipitation if there's moisture. So if this could move a little bit farther south, then that area of cyclonic motion and storm development could be directly over the Northeast, and we could actually see a good storm on Saturday. Again, it most likely is looking like extreme rainfall right now, but if some cold air could filter down a little farther south, maybe you could get some snow. Let's take a look on if that's going to happen and where the snow is going to be building in, because there is a little portion that will get some of that. So right there, that's pretty much the precipitation diagram of when that storm development happens. The upper exit region is probably way at about 300 millibars right here, leads to a bunch of storm development, and then you get these crazy rainfall rates, about half an inch per hour, building into western Pennsylvania Friday at about 1 in the morning. And you can see basically all of Pennsylvania covered in rain at this point, as well as Massachusetts and Connecticut and parts of southern New York. And look at that, there's even a little bit of snow building into Vermont and New Hampshire. Man, it's going to be hard for me to get excited about snow throughout the rest of this video after California is forecasted to pick up 4 feet in one day. Oh my gosh. But it's also interesting following weather across the entire country. You can see that storm development really fills in some heavy snowfall rates. That's what I was just saying. The cyclonic motion and the storm development was just to the north of the Northeast, and that's where you're going to be getting those heavy snowfall rates because there's also cold air present. This whole region, it's just too warm with this one. The low is too far north, so these winds here are just going to be bringing in warm air, and precip mostly for New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, basically going to be rain. There is one area of cold air in northern New Hampshire and most of Maine that's going to be getting some snow with this one. Some heavier snowfall rates start to build into Maine Friday at about 1 p.m., while southern parts of Maine are going to be getting those heavy rain accumulations as well. Let's see. Remember that little snowstorm that moved through the Midwest? Let's see if it hits the Northeast. Looks like it just misses. Parts of West Virginia and southern Pennsylvania could be getting a dash of snow on Sunday, but for the most part, no precipitation for the Northeast on Sunday. You know, that could be nice if you're doing a little St. Patrick's Day parade. But again, like I said, coronavirus probably wouldn't go to a parade. Let's take a look at the accumulated snowfall. This is by Friday at about 1 p.m. Connecticut could be getting an inch of rain with this one, maybe an inch building into New Hampshire as well. And then you see the rain is going to fall basically on the entire Northeast. Everybody's getting a little bit, even if that little bit is just 0.2 to 0.3 inches. Basically all of Maine's getting an inch with this one, as well as New Hampshire, basically getting an inch as well. And then let's see if that other one fills in. Yeah, West Virginia could be getting up to an inch and a half throughout the weekend as rain continues to fill in with that second system that we'll see moving in from the Midwest. All right, so this is one of my favorite maps of this entire live forecast because you are really going to see the winds start kicking up around this low. Remember what I said about the jet stream? It moves in and it brings a ton of energy, and that energy is going to fuel this low and lead to some crazy winds. It actually already is leading to some crazy winds, but these are going to get even faster as it moves into the Northeast. So we click through, this is going to be moving throughout the day Friday, and you see this big trough deepens, and then those winds just start flowing into this low. As the low continues to drop in pressure, that wind really starts flowing in. And the real interesting thing to look at here is why the Northeast isn't getting snow with this one. Obviously, Maine and northern New Hampshire are, and it's because of this right here, that freezing line. That blue coloring right there, that indicates where the temperatures are below freezing, where the air is cold enough to where precipitation is going to fall as snow. Now, why, with this giant trough that we have, why is the entire Northeast so warm? You look, parts of New York getting into 50 degrees, Pennsylvania 50 degrees, Boston almost 50 degrees. And it's because of these strong winds. So you see up here, if that cold Arctic air was moving down, that's in the 20s, maybe the teens. But then you look at this water here, and it's into the 70s. So what these winds are going to be doing is taking that air that's in the 70s. That was a great little voice crack right there. I'm sure anybody watching this live just got a great little chuckle out of that one. Getting back to the forecast map, these winds are taking all that warm air over this warm ocean water, about 70 degrees, and just pushing it right on the Northeast, ruining your guys' snowfall. It's interesting to see. I'm sure it's not interesting to people who live in the Northeast. I'm sure you hate to see it, but I don't know, weather's pretty cool. And it is cool to see how think about the circulation around a low. You don't even really need to think about it. You can see it right here. It's counterclockwise. Just goes bringing cold air down on the left side of the low, bringing warm air up on the right side of the low. And this shows it about as good as any map ever will show it. You can see those winds streaming into the low on the left side, bringing that really cold air into North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Let's zoom in here. Let's see what temperatures we could see. Yeah, it's in the teens. We got 16 degrees, 16 degrees. Can we find one colder than that? Probably farther north. Yeah, 13, 11. And it's all associated with that circulation around the low. Whereas on the other side, where winds are pushing warm air up, you get the temperatures in the 50s. And especially into New York, where you're getting that really good, or I shouldn't say good because it's ruining your guys' snowfall, but you get the moderation from the warm ocean temperatures. But really the big story with this low, it's not going to be a big snowmaker. Maine's going to be getting getting a little snow. Northern New Hampshire is going to be getting a little snow. But the big thing to look at with this one is those extreme winds that are going to be moving through. Like I said, 50 to 60 miles per hour on Friday and Saturday. Let's watch and see if they get even stronger as we move through Saturday. Oh, wow, they really start kicking into Maine on Friday at about 2 p.m. That looks like it could be in the 60 to 70 miles per hour. So let's move on to the next map. I could spend all day looking at Windy's maps. They are just beautiful, but we'll move on to the 24-hour accumulated snowfall. This is what Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine are going to be getting by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you're probably going to be waking up tomorrow, and there could be 2 to 3 inches. You know, if you're lucky enough to live in these areas right here. Vermont, not so much for you. Maybe 0.2 inches. Maybe an inch in some places, probably the higher elevations. Whereas there's this one little strip from New Hampshire. Man, I'm almost laughing right now. Let's go back and look. I'm like talking about these 2-inch accumulations like it's something. Let's go back to the 2-inch the 24-hour accumulated snowfall for California. Okay, 24-hour accumulated snowfall, 38 inches on Sunday. 38 inches on Sunday for California. But, you know, what can you do? You gotta go where the forecast brings you. And right now it's bringing us to the Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, where 2 to 3 inches are possible. Luckily, that does start to build in a little bit more throughout the day on Friday as that low moves through and intensifies, possibly getting 5 to inches in the colder, higher elevation parts of Maine. It would be interesting to see if this bullseye up here can move a little farther south. If it does, then who knows? Maybe that 5 to 8 inches could be moving into parts of northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Something to look out for. You see, it does start to move into northern Maine throughout the day on Saturday. And yeah, there's a little bullseye of about a foot of snow, but just north of us. Not going to happen. And then that little system we saw move through on Sunday, well, that's going to bring maybe an inch or two to West Virginia and southern Pennsylvania. Not much, though. So I'm going to end this video just doing a quick summary of that massive snowstorm in California. That's the big story right now. It could be the story of the year at this point. I've been doing these forecast videos for about 2 months now, and I have not seen a storm like this. It is saying there could be 6 feet of accumulated snowfall over the next week. And majority of that 6 feet is coming in on Sunday. Now, what's the important part of the fact that it's coming in on Sunday? Well, the first thing I think about is that Sunday's not that far away. Tomorrow's Friday, then we got Saturday, and then it's already Sunday. The forecast models at this point are pretty good. And that's when they have 4 feet of snow coming in, is on Sunday. So, by my better judgment, I mean, I'm most likely just hoping for some excitement in the weather forecast, but I think this one's going to happen. I might just be rooting for all my buddies that snowboard that they'll finally get some action because California has been getting nothing this entire season. It didn't even rain the entire month of February. So to get 6 feet of snow associated with one storm system, well, it's pretty awesome to say the least. Now, you might be inclined to think that it's this giant cutoff low that's going to move up and bring all the snow to California. Well, that's not actually going to happen. That's going to move off, combine with the jet stream and the 300 millibar level, and actually going to bring a ton of energy to the Midwest and Northeast. Going to be getting 50 to 60 mile per hour winds throughout the day Friday and Saturday, while parts of northern Maine could be getting 5 to 8 inches. The system we're going to want to look out for is this giant trough that you see starting to move into California at about Saturday at 1 in the morning. Now keep an eye on this blue line here. This blue line right here indicates where temperatures are below freezing. Now what you're going to see is two major things as I click through this map. One, this trough is just going to hang out Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Typically, you see this trough move through and it's on the East Coast in about 2 to 3 days. This one is going to hang out right over California from basically Saturday to Thursday. The other thing you're going to notice is this blue line that indicates below freezing temperatures. That's going to start to move farther south, really adding to the snowfall accumulations. So watch. Moves throughout Saturday, Sunday is when the bulk of it's hitting. I said this earlier, but on the east side of a trough, that's where you get upward vertical motion, storm development, and then there's moisture coming in from the Pacific with these winds coming around this trough. And the cold air just continues to build further and further south as this low doesn't just move off, you see it circulating right here. Keeps on circulating, keeps on kicking in moisture to fuel the system, and the cold air continues and actually gets colder throughout the day, Tuesday and Wednesday. You get a little purple blob of cold air. I'm going to have to be wearing a jacket on Wednesday because that's Arctic air that we have moving into California. That thing finally moves off on about Thursday, and a pretty interesting thing is going to happen. I haven't been focusing on this in the forecast video so far because at this point, this is a week off. I don't really trust forecast models a week off. Models are amazing, but that's asking a lot of our meteorologists and programmers. But something to note, and it'd be interesting to see if this actually happens, you get this cool little cutoff low that breaks off from that giant trough that was sitting over California for basically the entire week, and that is expected to bring some heavy snowfall rates and winter weather to Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and then eventually into Minnesota and Wisconsin. Interesting thing to note here, by next Saturday, that cold air has really built into the entire northwestern part of the country. You guys are all still warm. Northeast, you're missing out on all the snow because you're basically warm, possibly throughout spring, summer, fall till next winter. Let's look at that snow as it builds into California because it is just so fun to look at. Oh my gosh. 6 feet of snow in the next week. I'm going to be amazed if this happens. I'm going to be following it every single day. I'm going to be doing these forecast videos, really diving into the science behind this storm, following the models up to date to see if this thing happens. We've had a ton of busts this entire season, so I'm praying for this one. I want this one to happen. The whole coronavirus thing, everyone's freaking out in California right now. It'd be nice if we could get something to boost our spirits, and 6 feet of snow definitely would do that. What I was going to say though is I'm going to be following that storm throughout the entire next week. The bulk of it's hitting Sunday. So if you want to stay updated with that one, you can subscribe to my channel. And if you want to be notified when I do live forecasts like this, there's a little bell icon just below this video. And if you hit that, you'll actually get a notification when I go live. Pretty cool feature that YouTube has added. So right now there's some flash flooding in Southern California and Arizona. It's interesting, but it's not the big story. Then throughout the day, tomorrow and into Saturday, Utah and Colorado going to be getting maybe up to a foot of snow. The real action starts to happen Saturday at about 1 in the morning. We start to see that snow build in to the Sierra Nevadas, and it just continues throughout basically the entire next week. And you'll see these rates are nothing. You're going to see the really strong rates build in throughout the day Saturday and especially into Sunday. This is looking at Sunday now. Sunday at 1 in the morning, we start to see that 0.2 to 0.4 inches per hour. The thing you want to think about when looking at this accumulated snowfall map is when that says 0.2 to 0.4 inches per hour, and this low is sitting over California from Saturday to Thursday. That's a lot of hours. So it makes sense that they possibly could be getting 6 feet of snow with this one. See some really heavy rates building in throughout the day Sunday. That's when the forecast models are saying there could be 4 feet of snow building in just on Sunday. Unbelievable. And you see, the low just hangs out and hangs out and hangs out all the way through Sunday, all the way through Monday, still getting those heavy snowfall rates. It's no wonder they can pick up 6 feet if every single hour you're picking up 0.2 inches. For Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's over 5 days of accumulated snowfall as this low finally moves into Nevada on Wednesday into Thursday. But even after it moves out, Northern California and parts of the Sierras are still going to be getting snow throughout Thursday. But really the bulk of that is hitting Sunday and Monday, and you'll be able to see it on this map even better. This is showing 24-hour accumulated snowfall. You can see that system that built into Utah and Colorado. That's going to be about a foot of snow as that cutoff low moves up from Southern California and Arizona and brings some decent snowfall to Utah and Colorado. Now, the real action starts building into the Sierra Nevadas on Saturday at about 1 in the morning. You see that first little drizzle move in, and then from that point until the end of Monday, it just escalates and escalates and escalates. So here's my favorite thing to look at. This is Saturday at about 1 p.m. and we've picked up 4 inches. Keep that in mind. We picked up 4 inches by Saturday at 1 p.m. Let's look at Sunday at 1 p.m. 36 inches. So that's 32 inches over the course of 24 hours. Actually, this is showing 24-hour accumulated snowfall. So that is showing that in the last 24 hours, they picked up 37 inches. And then clicking forward another 6 hours, 38 inches, 35 inches, 26 inches. And it continues and continues and continues. It even starts to work its way farther south as that cold air is able to filter in as that low continues to dig deeper. And then look at that. It continues to fill in, and then it spreads out over the entire region throughout Thursday and Friday, where, wow, look at that. Arizona could be picking up a foot of snow with that one. I never thought I'd be doing a forecast where Arizona could be picking up more snow than the Northeast throughout the next week. Here is the moneymaker map, though. This is showing a total accumulated snowfall by this time next week. By this time next week, the forecast models are showing that California could have over 6 inches of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. Like I said, I'm going to be following this one every single day. This could be the storm of the year. The storm of the year and the storm of the season. It could redeem the terrible snowfall season that California has had. We might double, triple our snowfall totals in just one storm. So if you want to stay updated with this storm, I make these forecast videos every single day, so you can subscribe to my channel. If you enjoy following the weather, if you've enjoyed this video, you can hit subscribe. And I also love doing these live stream forecasts. I can really dive into the maps a lot more and just cover way more material than a typical 10-minute forecast video that I do every morning at 5 a.m. If you want to be notified when I'm doing a live stream forecast, there's a little bell icon just underneath this video. And if you tap that bell icon, you'll actually get a notification when I go live like this. So I'm going to be doing updates on this storm non-stop over the next week. There could be 4 feet of snow building in on Sunday. And unfortunately, I have a numerical weather prediction midterm on Monday while I'm trying to earn my master's in meteorology. But I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to be covering this storm on Sunday because there is going to be some huge action building into California. Like I said, if you want to stay updated with that, you can subscribe to my channel. And also let me know in the comments, what do you think this storm is going to do? Do you think this forecast is going to just completely bust, like it seems like every single storm has been doing this winter season? You know, there's a chance. I get excited about these things because weather excites me, and I just really hope that these things happen. So I've been getting fooled a bunch this season. I think the worst one was that biggest snowstorm of the year for the Northeast, where the models were saying maybe 2 to 3 feet we're going to build in, and then within the next day they were saying 4 inches. So I've been wrong in the past, as forecasters and meteorologists do, but doing the best with what we got, and right now the best we got is saying 6 feet of snow for the Sierra Nevadas by this time next week. Again, if you want to stay updated, you can subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think in the comments. I want to know your opinion, and I will definitely get back to you. Thanks for watching.